Shut up, podcast. How we doing, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast. I am your host, Richie, riding solo today, and I'm breaking down the NLCS, the ALCS, a very angry Jerry Jones, as well as two very decorated receivers finding new homes ahead of the trade deadline in the form of Davante Adams, realigning with his man Aaron Rodgers in New York. East Rutherford to be exact. We got Amari Cooper going to Buffalo as well. But I am going to start this up with my beloved New York Yankees taking a commanding 2-0 lead against the Cleveland Guardians. Yesterday, the Yankees really dodged quite a few bullets. It was a sloppy game on both sides. Fielding issues galore between the Guardians as well as the New York Yankees. Garrett Cole looked beautiful through his first four frames. When he got to the fifth, he ran into trouble. But thankful for the W, thankful for the 2-0 lead. It's a commanding lead. New York Yankees are halfway home to winning their first pennant since the 2009 season. I know that some fans would probably roll their eyes and say that's not that bad, but in Yankee country, that is truly an eternity, given the high expectations as well as the always top 2 to 3 payroll in all of baseball. As the game goes yesterday, it goes without saying, since Gleyber Torres has been reinserted into the Yankee lineup as the leadoff man, the results have just been so much better. His 3 hits yesterday were massive for the Yankee victory. Aaron Judge hitting a late home run, definitely worthy of getting some of that negative narrative off his back and getting rid of some of that pressure. Just beautiful way to weather the storm. You know, Cleveland, in the words of the great Bob Uecker, left a small village on the base pads yesterday, and they're going to have to be a lot better in game 3 as well as in game 4. My prediction going in was Yankees in 6. I'm sticking with it. A very interesting thing that Cleveland did yesterday was pulling their ace out early. And I think Pedro Martinez said it best, that you're worried about that bullpen and if you're overworking them that early. Granted, they have, in my opinion, the best bullpen in all of Major League Baseball. However, you know, when you are pulling Bibee that early, it could be problematic as the series moves along. But having said that, the double-edged side of that is that your starter could be reinserted a little quicker. Garrett Cole, it was disappointing to see him not get a little deeper into the game, but I honestly believe that, especially in these must-have kind of games, Cole has a propensity for pitching a little better on the road. Daniel Nunez, he's got the Yankees in 5. We'll see. Cleveland's not an easy place to go to. I expect them to be on their game, and especially with Ramirez hitting that late home run yesterday, I think he's going to gradually get his confidence back, find his swing. Great players do that. And I think Aaron Judge as well as Jose Ramirez are going to be back on the positive side of things. The first one's always the toughest one. But, you know, Judge hitting that homer late was definitely necessary. And I got news for you, Daniel. The Yankees avoided a big bullet yesterday with some of their base running blunders. Anthony Rizzo and Jazz Chisholm on the base pads would look like like the Bad News Bears. It looked like a bad Little League story. A win is a win, and a win we will certainly take. But I must admit that it was very fortunate that the Yankees leaving all those runners, you know, getting guys constantly in scoring position and silly outs on the base pads, as well as, you know, getting out of all kinds of trouble. We are up 2-0, but I will reiterate that this series is very winnable for Cleveland. So the Yankees have to go in there with killer's mentality and put these guys out of their misery and end it early. Because the best blessing the Yankees could possibly get would be to get out of this round early and hope that the Mets and Dodgers extend to 6 or 7, which I actually think may very well happen. As the NLCS goes, it is a matchup in certain metrics of David versus Goliath. The New York Mets were a last day entry, a day after the last day. Game 163 they needed to qualify for these playoffs. The Dodgers, since the acquisitions of Yamamoto as well as Ohtani, were natural favorites coming in. My preseason prediction for the World Series was the Los Angeles Dodgers and the New York Mets, a rematch of 78, 77, and 81. I was born in 81. Dodgers kicked our ass that year. Nunez is a Dodgers fan, as many of my viewers know, and he's got the Dodgers in 6. Not making a prediction on the final thing right now, but as today goes, Walker Buehler on the bump. And I'll be honest, I'm a little concerned about Walker Buehler today. He has certainly not lived up since coming back to his, regular all-star form. I predicted the Mets to win today. I haven't posted it yet on IG, but my prediction is the New York Mets 2, the Los Angeles Dodgers 5. I expect Ohtani to do what he does, but I think the Mets are going to limit the rest of that dynamic Dodger offense. I think they're going to jump on Buehler early, and I think it's going to be enough to sustain. But it's going to be an electric atmosphere in Queens. These people are hungry for a world title, their last one being 1986. Their last 2 appearances have been the year 2000, losing the Subway Series to my Yankees 4-1, and taking it back to 2014, getting beat. Was it 16? Hold up. 14. Getting beat by the Kansas City Royals. I think Walker is going 6 innings today. It's different when it comes to the playoffs. Okay. We'll see, Nunez. It's going to be a good game. And I'm just happy that I don't have to stress. I can watch the game, not be stressed, because I know my boys are doing their part on the other side of things. We got some trades in the NFL, guys. Davante Adams, suddenly, with the mastery of medicine, is over his hamstring injury, and he's talking about playing this week for the New York Jets, who are suiting up to take on Pittsburgh. It goes without saying that the relationship in Las Vegas really deteriorated, and Davante just wanted out. Pretty much ever since his best friend, Derek Carr, got shipped out to New Orleans, first benched, and then signed with New Orleans. It has been a very bad situation for Davante Adams with the Vegas Raiders. I think he needed the new start. But after seeing the Jets give up 202 yards of penalty yardage, that's 2 football fields and then some. And, having a chance to beat the Buffalo Bills and reclaim first place, but unable to do it, they're 2-4 right now. It was a necessary move. Aaron Rodgers now has 2 alpha dogs at wide receiver opposite each other. You got Garrett Wilson and Davante Adams, who he had a great deal of success with in Green Bay. Do I think this is the end-all, be-all solutions for the New York Jets? Not exactly. However, I do believe that the pickups of both these players is going to be huge moving forward for the offense to get going and just for the offense to play a hell of a lot better, and they're going to need to. I don't see the Buffalo Bills completely running away with things, but that divisional win is huge. And you can't count out Miami either. Miami is quietly in second place, even though they are too going through their own issues as they patiently wait the return of Tua Tagovailoa. So I do believe that in that regard, it's going to be interesting to see how this all pans out for Gang Green. Babe, I just need some water, please. Appreciate you.
See that.
Outside fridge.
I got it.
Thank you. No. We good. We good with the lighting. I'm sweating? Yeah, I just watched Cops.
Well, I squashed that morning for you. You're good.
She's a clown. Nah, my girl's getting me some water. Little parched. Back to this. Nunez, you got your Dodgers winning 6-4. Yes. Yeah, they both get better. But, I think it's ultimately going to come back to the commitment of Aaron Rodgers. I mean, you got a lot of mercenaries in that locker room. And Nunez, what do you think about Hassan Reddick, bro? You think they're going to trade this guy? I would also say that Mike Williams might be up for the trade block because by acquiring Davante Adams, Mike Williams suddenly becomes the number 4 option. So perhaps the Jets might ship the two of them out in separate deals or even together. So I would say keep an eye on that as, Hassan Reddick is playing hardball with the Jets. He is getting fined weekly by not showing up. However, he's willing to stand on his ground to get what he feels that he is worth. It's a weird situation because the Philadelphia Eagles traded him and the Jets did not give him a deal. So it's like, why'd you trade for him if you didn't have intentions of investing in him? So the entire situation with Hassan Reddick has become rather bizarre. But I like the move for the New York Jets. It's a necessary one, and we're going to see how it moves on. Got Nunez flying in with a comment. Hassan Reddick, man, I think he will be gone. And if he is traded to the NFC team, the Eagles will get a second-round pick. So you are definitely hoping that he does a cross-conference landing strip. So we'll see how that plays out. And, it'll be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays. And, Nunez, we got a big matchup on Sunday, kind of losing some of the luster with all the injuries for the New York Giants. But Saquon Barkley, Snakequan, as he is known in certain areas of East Rutherford, New Jersey, as well as New York City, making his return. And I got to say, I was slightly amused to think that Barkley is talking like he's not going to get booed. We have a long lineage of great running backs who have lifted Lombardi trophies. And we have one great one that played in one and unfortunately didn't. Of course, that's Tiki. But the guys who have won bowls, you're talking about Rodney Hampton, Ahmad Bradshaw, Brandon Jacobs, O.J. Anderson, just to name a few, Joe Morris, just to name a few. And, Saquon may very well be the most talented of the bunch. I personally think Tiki is the greatest running back in New York Giants football history. I think the numbers speak for themselves, and the success rate speaks for itself once he conquered the fumbling. Saquon was a hell of a talent. I'm not going to take nothing away. But what I must admit is that I think Saquon is slightly delusional, thinking that he's going to go to Gang Green, or I should say Kelly Green, Gang Green's the Jets, and come back and not get booed out of the stadium. I don't see it happening. As the game goes, I'm going to highlight it on our preview show, but I will say this. New York Giants getting dealt some really crummy news with our best offensive tackle, Andrew Thomas, being done for the year. Liz Frank surgery was conducted today. This probably sets up a situation where Jermaine Illuminor has to go over to the left, and we may end up getting Evan Neal to the right, because you certainly don't want Evan Neal having the blind side of Daniel Jones or any other quarterback on that roster for that matter. It looks like we're going to keep marching out Jones for now, even though I don't think he deserves to be the starter at this point. Jordan Mailata and Dallas Goedert. Yeah, the hamstrings have been a big thing this year, Daniel. Well, your best tight end and your best singer. Shouts out Aaron Moorhead, your wide receivers coach. He answered that question in a second. I was like, yo, who's your best singer? And he said Jordan Mailata. He didn't even freaking think about it. But that dude has a beautiful, beautiful voice. Saquon will have 100 yards rushing. I say Eagles 28, Giants 17. I will say this, Daniel. Injuries to keep an eye out for are Dexter Lawrence as well as Brian Burns. They are both dinged up, and we're already down Kayvon Thibodeau. So if those two guys don't suit up, it's going to be a long Sunday for my G-men. If they do suit up, I do believe that the defense is going to do what they have been doing, holding teams to 21 or less, which if you had a competent quarterback would probably have you a 4-2 record, maybe 5-1. But we're 2-4, and as Coach Parcells says, you are what your record says you are. I will not give my prediction yet, but I will say this. It's going to be a fun game because Tyrone Tracy is the new man right now in East Rutherford, New Jersey. And even though Devin Singletary will gradually make his return, he is the man as far as I'm concerned as running back one. What's also going to be interesting is if our star-studded rookie Malik Neighbors suits up. We're going to need him to have a puncher's chance in this one. Yeah, Kayvon is getting hurt a lot. That was a bad one, man. The wrist sucks. You can't do nothing about that. It was the way he landed. Back to the trade block. Amari Cooper joining the Buffalo Bills as a counter move to this Davante Adams. I love the move. Josh Allen has not thrown an interception this year versus 10 touchdowns, and I believe he has 3 rushing. So the turnover to interception ratio has been great. I think he's given up 2 fumbles for recoveries to the defense. Don't quote me on that. But the turnover game has been a very good plus for Josh Allen. Their 2 backup running backs came through in a big way in that Jet game with the injured Cook. So I got to think that this move kind of completes the Bills' offense. You already have a very good slot man in Shakir. You have the rookie Coleman, who is still kind of just scraping the surface. They did need a number 1 to replace Stephon Diggs, and that is what this move does. Amari Cooper brings you a mastery of the route tree. He brings you great blocking downfield. He brings you an excellent, excellent brain. You know, a guy who is very intelligent, a guy who always has his mind right and his mind in the game. I actually think this might be an upgrade over Stephon Diggs. I really mean that. Yeah, a little iffy. I'll tell you the truth. I liked what they did in that Jet game. I think the Buffalo defense is quietly a little better than they get credit for, but they are dealing with a decent amount of injuries as well as some discipline things over there. But it's good to see Damar Hamlin out there, I got to say. Damar Hamlin, let me tell you something. A lot of people were traumatized by seeing that horrible accident when he and T. Higgins made contact and we almost lost him. But one thing I got to say that I think gets overlooked is that Damar Hamlin brings the wood on those hits. Damar Hamlin, it's great to see him now as an every down player again. It's a great story. Very grateful that he was able to essentially come back to life because we almost lost him in a very tragic thing that went down. And it would have been a heavy thing for T. Higgins to have to carry for the rest of his days. Definitely a moment that made football look really small and make you realize what is important because these are players under these uniforms. They're not gladiators, you know, but happy that he's doing well. Through what I've seen so far, I got Buffalo winning this division still. I don't think the Jets have enough. Now, if they activate Hassan Reddick and come to some kind of terms of a deal, that could be a different conversation. But I do think Mike Williams and Hassan Reddick might be on the way out. Mike Williams is going to be buried on that depth chart now, and he's not going to get a higher favor in that offense over Rodgers' boy, Alan Lazard. Plus, you got Davante. It's looking like the Green Bay Jets right now. I'm sure Aaron Jones is enjoying himself in Minnesota, but he must be looking at like, damn, that would have been fun too. Moving it along, what else do we got? These injuries in the NFL are really depressing. I gotta say, man, so many hamstrings. It seems like hamstring is like the injury of choice this year for the football gods and the NFL. But the Andrew Thomas injury, I got to say from a team level, really sucks. And at the worst time, because you want to have Cam Akers went to the Vikings. Really? Does this happen today? I didn't get that report. Oddly enough, I dropped him today. I actually dropped him off of my big money league because of the fact that Joe Mixon is back in the mix. I see that as a warm body. Cam Akers, his best is behind him, in my opinion. He puts the ball on the carpet too much. So I'm assuming that they're holding out Aaron Jones a little longer. This season has been the most injuries ever. Yeah, dude. And I'll tell you the truth, Daniel. I think part of that has to do with the fact that these guys are not doing enough in the preseason in terms of hitting each other. I feel like they rest everybody, they go halfway, and then they just throw you into the fire. And I've noticed that since the preseason has been diluted in terms of guys actually getting in game shape, these injuries keep happening. But it's always a double-edged vision on that because you hate seeing guys get hurt for real in the preseason as well. He was traded yesterday, I see. So when I dropped him, he was probably a Viking already. I just didn't realize. Either way, see ya, Cam Akers. I want to talk about Jerry Jones. I think there comes a time in every coach's or every general manager's tenure where the game and reality passes you by. Jerry was a local guest on a sports talk show in Texas, and he really ripped into the person interviewing him. And Jerry just seemed like a bunch of hot air, not really being accountable for the moves that weren't made and some of the monies that were allocated in other places over the years for the Cowboys. I myself thought last year going into the playoffs, the Dallas Cowboys were damn near a shoo-in to make the NFC title game. A young Green Bay Packers team came into Arlington and basically kicked their ass for 3.5 hours. I also thought that Mike McCarthy was going to get canned. Dan Quinn ultimately had one foot out the door. He's currently coaching in D.C. and doing a really good job as they're currently in first place. But when I think about Micah Parsons right now injured, and you have money allocated into Lamb as well as Dak, is Micah Parsons the odd man out that could be traded, that could not be in the future plans of the Dallas Cowboys? And also, it begs the question, when you have guys like Bill Belichick out there, is he going to be the successor for Mike McCarthy? Does he still have one more coaching run in him? Because from a talent-based standpoint, I see the Dallas Cowboys as a ready-made championship team if they have the right coach. I think on certain metrics, the Dallas Cowboys are a little size condition level team. Yeah. Well, as I say, 1995 and counting, we must protect Jerry at all costs. But I will say this, Daniel, NFC East, not as strong as I was hoping this year. The fact that the Giants could easily be in first were it not for not carrying a kicker and just some really self-inflicted stuff. Your team has looked mediocre. They did look really good a couple of times this year, but mediocre. A couple of bad losses that I'm sure you're frustrated with too, particularly that Saquon drop against ATL. Just spitting it like I see it, I think the best division in professional football right now by far is the NFC North. The Bears have arrived, the Packers, Lions, the Vikings, all of them can make a case for playoff teams. And that would be pretty substantial if literally every team in that division goes to the playoffs. Yeah, this is interesting. Shed, what's up, buddy? Good to see you. Daniel, with the rest of the Eagles fans, want to Kent Sirianni. Yeah, Sirianni's definitely walking an interesting walk over there. I do see him as having a potentially short leash. But, my co-host, Mike Zappi, Cowboys superfan, has been quoted as saying in our group text that we have on this show, as well as just on his socials, he wants Jerry to sell the team. And as a New York Knicks fan, I know what that feels like, because for years we wanted James Dolan to sell the team. Thankfully, Leon Rose has us in a better light right now. So I'm going to wait for Daniel to reply to Shed. But, Jerry, I think it's passed him by. Now, before I get out of here, to my Giant fans, something that I was personally cooking up. And it comes with a couple of former New England stars. Shouts out to my man Quentin Moore, because he's actually the person that kind of cooked up this idea. I have myself thought about Belichick coming back to the G-Men, but not in the coaching realm. To go upstairs and work with his former player, Mike Vrabel, who's currently employed with the Cleveland Browns. If this season truly gets out of hand, and if they feel that the vision of Coach Brian Daboll as well as GM Joe Schoen is out the window, I personally think that Daboll hasn't been coaching all that bad. But when you don't have the right quarterback, it doesn't matter. But Quinton made a good point, too, that I have to bring up. When you don't get rid of the quarterback that you didn't draft, he kind of becomes your problem now. And Dave Gettleman, the guy who drafted him, is no longer on the hook for him. So it would be kind of ironic if the quarterback guru never actually drafted his quarterback. And I do think in East Rutherford, New Jersey, that is a very real thing that could happen. Just popped in to say, hey, I'll comment on the show tomorrow. Go Yankees. All right, Shed. Have a great day, brother. Appreciate you. Just to give the viewers a notice, either tonight or tomorrow, announcements will be coming for our next show. We're going to do a detailed preview of Week 7. God, Week 7 already. In the National Football League. We got some good matchups coming up. Green Bay and Houston. That's going to be a fun one. We got the battle of the Turnpike between the Philadelphia Eagles and my beloved New York Giants in the Saquon homecoming game. Baseball is on fire right now. Viewership is up almost 20% for the Major League Baseball playoffs, and we are very close to having a potential Subway Series. It kind of gives me the 99/2000 vibes, because in 99, the Yankees beat the Atlanta Braves, which was 2 of an ultimate 3-peat. They beat the Mets the next year. Mets were super close in 99. They got the job done in 2000. Chiefs versus Niners. Thank you, Daniel. A rematch of last year's Super Bowl. Of course, the Niners are not as healthy as they want to be, but I don't see that as a shoe-in for the Chiefs to win. Although the Chiefs keep finding a way to win, Patrick Mahomes has not been playing stellar. He's been making mistakes. If you look at the stat line, it's a little alarming that that's Patrick Mahomes. It almost looks a little more like Daniel Jones or somebody. I really hope, we get Dodgers and Yankees. Yeah, bro, I'm not going to front. There's a part of me that would feel better losing to the Dodgers if we were going to lose to anybody. Because I could speak on behalf of my best friend in New York that in the event that the Dodgers beat the Yankees, I will never, ever hear the end of it. And most Yankee fans will not hear the end of it from the little brothers in Queens. If you lose to a team like the Dodgers, it's still annoying because we are considered a rival of theirs going back historically, whether it's their Brooklyn days or their days on the West Coast. I don't have an opinion, so to speak, because it's a weird thing, right? If the Mets beat the Dodgers, the Yankees get home field advantage in the World Series. But the Yankees have been a better road team all year long. I am very happy that we got both wins in the Bronx to start this new series up. But I think at this level, home field advantage is not as great as people think. But in a Subway series, the fact that more of those games will be in the Bronx would be beneficial for the Yankees. The other part that's beneficial for the Yankees if the Mets advance is that you don't have to make that cross-country trip. It's Queens, it's the Bronx. You're basically neighboring the series. Ohtani versus Judge would be ideal for the lovers of the sport. In my opinion, the two best offensive players in all of Major League Baseball, but I also want to give an honorable mention, shout out to Mr. Lindor in Queens. I think in a different year, he would probably be up for consideration for the MVP, as well as Mr. Bobby Witt. Jose Ramirez, bro, a double and a home run shy of a triple 40-40 year. So that guy is sensational too. But Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani are at the peak of their careers right now. And it was good to see Judge finally get off the schneid yesterday. It really, really was, because he was starting to hear a lot of the negativity. Because one thing about New York fans, we are just not patient and at times just outright unreasonable. Yeah, Lindor is a beast. Shouts out Francisco Lindor. I am certainly not a Mets fan, but that young man has won me over. And I got news for you, man. No matter how this plays out, the Mets have won me over in the sense that they have showed a great deal of heart to get where they are. They did it the hard way. But I do want to say one thing about a lot of people hating on the Yankees' path to the World Series that pisses me off. The New York Yankees earned the best record in the American League. The New York Yankees had the best record against teams of 500 records. And the New York Yankees had the best record in all of Major League Baseball on the road. It's not the Yankees' fault that the Orioles and the Astros collectively shit the bed together. And I don't know what people are seeing or thinking, but the Cleveland Guardians are a damn good team. And I have been correct about my four teams that I had going to the championship series when these playoffs started. Same for you, Nunez. You guys have a great organization. But I do think that the difference between potentially finally hoisting the non-Mickey Mouse, no offense, the non-Mickey Mouse World Series is the fact that you brought in Ohtani. Because you guys, going back to even when Joe Torre was managing you, then he handed it over to Donnie Baseball. Now Dave Roberts is in the mix. You guys have not been able to get over the hump, with the exception of the 2020 season, which was kind of a crapshoot for everybody, similar to the Lakers winning in the NBA with the bubble stuff. It eliminated the fans in a massive way from having an effect, not to mention locations of games. Because it would have been interesting to see you guys play the Rays at the Trop. Because even though the Trop is an eyesore, it is its own entity in terms of a stadium where I do feel that a home field advantage actually favors the Rays in certain metrics of getting a lot of infield hits. Balls bounce differently on AstroTurf. It's a different kind of element. It would have been cool to see that. But I thought the Rays gave you guys a good fight that year. The better team won. The better team was the Dodgers. But this is the first time in a long time. You probably got to go back to the late 80s when you guys had that machine in 1988, and you cut through the Mets that year. And I'll be honest with you, that was the best Mets team ever assembled, in my opinion. The 88 Mets didn't win the World Series. 88 Dodgers did. Of course, Kirk Gibson, heroic stuff off of the great Dennis Eckersley. The man could barely walk. And why do I remember that, my old ass? Because the Wonder Years premiered after that. I was just a little kid watching that World Series. One of my first true memories of the World Series. I can honestly say that 88 shot by Gibson, and I have a little fogged out memory of the Mets a couple of years earlier with the Bill Buckner situation. A lot of my family were excited because the Red Sox didn't win. It wasn't so much happiness for the Mets. It was more happiness that the Red Sox didn't win. But baseball is in full bloom. This is good stuff. NBA on the way. We're going to be doing a preview of the NBA coming up soon. New York Knicks, Minnesota Timberwolves. I say to myself, that was a regular season game. That would have been even more exciting. But Dante DiVincenzo definitely bringing the heat, so to speak, as he is not happy about his departure from New York. And I mean, who would be? Four of his best friends are on that roster, the Nova Cats. So it is unfortunate, but it is a business. Until next time, I am Richie. Shouts out Daniel Nunez for hanging with us. Also, making a point to check out The Basement Show with Mr. Nast, friends of ours in the podcasting realm, as well as the Casual Convo Show, where you can see my co-host, Idris Salam, as well as the beautiful Chanel, talking about all of things. These guys talk about everything from wealth management to social injustices to hip-hop to just many a topic. Definitely give those guys a shout. Give those guys a look. You can find them on Hand Radio. Until next time, I am your host, Richie. Announcements to come for our NFL Week 7 preview. Have a great day, everyone.